What's up guys, and welcome back to the West Side. We are back again with another first impressions. This time it's going to be the Alpha Pro Power Vapor. These are 11Six24's newest power paddles that they've added to their lineup. And there's been quite some confusion on whether they're very much different than the original Power series. Do they really add that much more power than the Power series, or are they kind of the same? And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and do this first impressions review, just because I wanted to kind of clear up some of that confusion. So this is really going to be a review for the Alpha Pro Power series, but it's also going to be a comparison with the original Power series. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So I've been playing with both of these paddles for the past 11 days, and I actually started with the Hurrache-X because I was like super hyped for this thing. Like I'd always heard good things about it. I just never been able to get my hands on it. So 11Six24 finally sent some out. Big thanks to you guys. I already had some expectations about what this paddle was gonna be like because I'd played with the Era Power a lot, and I'd heard that it was basically similar or almost identical to the Era Power. So I was expecting, you know, the same power, some pretty same metrics, some same performance, but I think it's better than the Era Power. So when I first played with this thing, I was like, dude, this thing hits hard. Like if you have not played with any 11Six24 paddle at all, especially the Power series, especially the Hurrache-X, dude, this thing hits like a truck, man, like so hard. And it's a Gen 3, obviously it's gonna hit hard, but just the style that they have of this floating core in the center with the foam ring around it, dude, it is so good and it feels good. I love the way Gen 3 paddles feel more than Gen 4 paddles, and this paddle is no exception. It feels absolutely amazing. So this paddle basically exceeded my expectations of what it was going to be in almost every single category. The sweet spot was better than I thought it was gonna be. The control was better than I thought it was gonna be. The power was better than I thought it was gonna be, because I thought it was gonna be the same as the Era Power. I would actually give the edge to the 11Six24. And so after playing with this one for about 4 days, I went to the Alpha Pro Power Vapor expecting there to be, you know, like maybe a slight increase in power. And I'm just gonna break it right now. I did not notice a big power increase. Like I almost didn't notice any power increase, to be fair. And I think the reason for this is a couple of things. One, I think the Hurrache-X shape just generates more power. You have a 6-inch handle, so you get more torque when you're snapping your wrist, when you're hitting drives or when you're serving. And for the Vapor, this is a hybrid shape, so the handle's a little bit shorter. You don't get as much torque when you're driving the ball or when you're serving it. And so maybe I just thought, you know, the shape is what's kind of causing the difference, because I only have these two shapes. I don't have the other shapes to compare to. But this is technically like one of their most popular shapes. Like I've heard a lot of people go crazy about the Vapor shape. And so I was not complaining when they sent me this one. I was actually glad that they sent me the Vapor shape. And so I wanted to see what all the buzz was about. And unfortunately, I didn't notice a big enough power increase to make me think like, oh, that's why it's the Alpha Pro Power. Like I was just kind of like, you know, they almost feel identical. I think one of the dead giveaways for that was the price. This is $170. This is $200. I think if it was gonna be that big of a power jump from the Power series to the Alpha Pro Power series, maybe they would have charged like $250, you know, maybe even higher. I mean, to be honest with you, these are very high quality paddles. So they're already undercharging in my eyes. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. Keep charging us lower than the competition. Please, 11Six24, keep doing what you're doing. But in all fairness, I thought they were gonna charge even more for the Alpha Pro Power if it was gonna be more powerful. But I think this is just a very minor upgrade compared to the original Power series. It almost takes me back to the days of like the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6s. It almost feels like that kind of upgrade where it's just very incremental in a way that maybe you can skip out on the Alpha Pro Power series and you're not gonna be missing much. And I think that's kind of like my conclusion when it comes to the comparison between these two. I don't think that you would need to get the Alpha Pro Power series if you already have the original Power series. You should be totally fine with this. And so that's where I'm kind of confused, is like, why would they come out with the Alpha Pro Power series but not make it a big enough difference for people to want to buy it? Because at the same time, if you're looking to buy one of these, like you've never bought an 11Six24 power paddle at all, but you're looking to buy one and you don't know if you're gonna buy the Alpha Pro Power or the original Power, the Power is $30 cheaper, and the differences are so similar. I would just buy the original Power series, to be honest with you. Save yourself 30 bucks and buy, I don't know, extra balls, something like that, because they're very similar. And that's the only thing that I'm kind of thinking about. Like, I don't know, it didn't make sense for me when I was trying out both of these. Like, I just thought these things are too similar. But again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I guess it's not a bad thing, like it didn't change that much, because I know, for example, the Carbon True Foam series, everybody loved the Genesis, and then Carbon tried doing something different, but a lot of people are hating on the Waves now. So in that case, I guess it's just kind of playing it safe to where maybe you give a very slight increase in power and you keep everything else the same, and you just call it a day. And if that's what they were going for, they definitely accomplished their goal. But I want to talk about a couple other things about the Alpha Pro Power series where I felt like it was definitely noteworthy. The control is actually going to be above average for a Gen 3 paddle. This is not going to suffer in control like some of the other power paddles that we've seen in the past, where you have high power, but you sacrifice some of the other attributes, like a paddle tech with a small sweet spot, or a Perseus Pro 4, where in my eyes, it had a smoother surface, so it had less spin. In this case, I think it's gonna be pretty well-rounded when it comes to that control. Now, just like any other power paddle, you are gonna have to have that learning curve where you're gonna learn your paddle because of that high pop and power. You're gonna have to get used to the way that it feels, and then you're gonna be able to dink and reset a little bit easier after you spend more time with your paddle. And I feel like it's the same thing with the Alpha Pro Power series. They are gonna have high power and pop, and so just get used to it. Give yourself some time to get used to the dinking and the resetting, and it'll definitely come a little bit easier, especially if you have the Vapor shape, just because it's that hybrid shape. The sweet spot's a little bit bigger, the twist weight is a little bit bigger as well, and so you should have a little bit easier time finding that rhythm when you're dinking and resetting. Now that is not my forte, so it's definitely taking me a little bit longer, especially when I'm reviewing like 8 different paddles at once and trying them all out, and I finally come back to my Vapor again. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to get used to this paddle all over again. But if you're obviously a regular person and you just buy one paddle and you stick with it, I don't think the learning curve is gonna be too hard when it comes to the control. One thing I did like more about the Vapor shape instead of the Hurrache-X shape is that the swing weight's also gonna be a little bit lower. Some of my speed ups were easier to pull off because my swing weight was lower. I didn't feel like I was swinging around my heavy paddle. It was just kind of real quick with the flicks, and it just felt a little bit smoother. Now I always add weight to my paddles just to balance it out because I love to customize them. So in this case for the Vapor, I put 0.1 ounce at the bottom corner and another 0.1 ounce at the 9 o'clock side, and the same thing over here, corner, and then the 3 o'clock side. So that way it's a total of 0.4 ounces, and my paddle came out to be about 8.45 ounces. I found that this gave me a little bit extra plow through, and it did add a little bit to the sweet spot as well. When it came to like dwell time and the spin, I would say it was about average with every other power paddle right now, maybe slightly above average, just because again, they have that floating core design, so it allows for more flex, and you can feel it pocket the ball just slightly more, not as much as a Perseus 3S, but the effect is still there. So I think it gets the job done just fine in that category. I think the only bad thing that I have to say about this paddle, and really this is not even more of like their fault, this is just my fault, because it's a Vapor, I like a longer handle. This is just maybe a tiny bit too short for me. I think this is like 5.5 inches maybe, but the taper is a little bit sharper, so maybe it feels like 5.3 or 5.35 inches instead. And so the handle's just a tiny bit short for this hybrid shape, just for me. Especially when coming from the Hurrache-X with that 6-inch handle, dude, that, oh gosh, just feels good, dude. If you haven't played with this paddle, just go buy it already, man. Honestly, just go buy it. Anyway, enough about this, back to this. It's because it's so good, man. That paddle is so good. Get away, I'm putting you to the side. Now, another reason I am doing this review is because I wanted to address the fact that everybody wants a foam paddle right now. Everybody thinks that foam paddles are gonna be the best paddles ever, and that nothing's gonna beat them, and they're just at the top of the game right now, and they're just basically just getting rid of all the other previous generations, and all the other previous generations are just obsolete. That is 100% false. Gen 3 paddles like this still have a place in the professional meta and in the regular meta, whether you play in like 3-0 tournaments or whether you're just playing for fun at the rec. These absolutely still have a place. I've seen a lot on my comments, I've seen a lot in the community, people talking about, you know, what foam paddle should they buy? I wanna buy a foam one, I wanna buy a foam one. Look, if you wanna buy a foam one because of the durability aspect, by all means, knock yourself out. But if you're just buying a foam paddle just because you think because it's foam is gonna be just automatically better, I don't think that's always the case. Yes, a lot of foam paddles are good right now, but when it comes to paddles like this, where they're just made solid, they're built well, they're gonna last you longer than a typical Gen 3, and they just perform for a sub $200 budget? I mean, what on earth are you waiting for? What more could you ask for? If I was a regular consumer, I would absolutely be considering one of these paddles. I think 11Six24 has done something great where they have introduced 2 lineups already where they are just absolutely rock solid. I would call this like a staple for Gen 3. Like if you're looking for a Gen 3 paddle just because you prefer the way that they feel, this is gonna be my #1 recommendation. This or the regular power lineup. I think I would put this above the Perseus Pro. I would put it above the new loose cannon that just came out. I would even put it above a lot of other Gen 4 paddles that I played with right now, just because the price is so reasonable and the performance output is so high. So your performance to price ratio is so great. You're not gonna find a better deal for this price right here. I think the only competition that's really gonna compete against the 11Six24 Alpha Pro Power or regular power lineup is gonna be the Era Power. This is coming in at $200. It hits very similar. It has very similar power, very similar pop, very similar control. It's gonna feel a little bit more stiff than the Alpha Pro Power or the regular Power series. And so that might come into play whether you want to buy a paddle that feels more stiff or one that has a little bit more dwell time. But as I said before, like this used to be my #1 recommendation for people that were willing to put down a little extra money but not break the bank and wanted a solid paddle. This was it right here. This has now been dethroned and been replaced by 11Six24 paddles. I'm a fan, man. All it took was like one play session and I was like, dude, I'm trying to get everybody on board with these paddles, man. I think it's just too good. Now, if you don't want to take my word for it and you think that, nah, you know what, maybe I'm misjudging it and that the Alpha Pro Power does have extra power. I've heard from other people that it has extra power. I mean, by all means, knock yourself out because again, the price gap is really small. Going from the regular Power series to the Alpha Pro Power series, $30. That's it. You're only paying an extra $30. Like I said, they could have charged a lot more. If they really wanted to be greedy and just get their hands on some money by changing the name, they easily could have done that, but they definitely did not go that route. They only charged $30 more. So if you've heard from other people that it's actually more powerful or you don't want to believe me, by all means, go ahead and get the Alpha Pro Power series. You're still not going to be missing out. Look, if you want to buy either one of these paddles, you're going to be in very great shape. These are by no means obsolete. I think they are still in the top competitions. I'll be honest, I'm surprised that Pro has not signed with 11Six24. I'm not sure if they're doing that, but I think that would be a wise decision because the Pro is going to have a pretty good paddle in their hands if they decide to sign with them. But that's going to wrap up this comparison and review between the Alpha Pro Power and the original Power series from 11Six24. I'm sure one of you guys has played with these paddles. What do you guys think of these? If you've tried a paddle from both of these lineups, did you think that the Alpha Pro Power had more power than the original series, or are they about the same? Let me know what your thoughts are. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you guys again on the West Side.